Righto, let's do it then, shall we? Hello! I hope you are all okay and all good. Welcome to another video. My name is George. For those of you who don't know, feel free to subscribe down below if you're not already. And this is a video I never thought I would make. So, oh, nails! Eee! So, as you may have guessed from the title of this is a Q&A video, but it is also a makeup video. For those of you who don't know, my debut YA novel, Boy Queen, comes out on August 6th. It is the story of a teenage boy called Robin Cooper who, right at the beginning of the book, is so sure he's going to go to drama school, but then gets a bunch of rejection letters through his door and has no idea what he's going to do with his life. He is taken to a drag show by his best friends where he sees a performer called K-Bai, and seeing K-Bai inspires him to take up the art of drag. So it's about a teenage boy who wants to be a drag queen. It's a coming of age story. It's my debut YA novel. It comes out in like 2 weeks and I'm very, very excited and very, very nervous about it. But as part of that, Pan Macmillan wanted me to do a little sort of Q&A about the book and things about the book based on questions that you have asked me on Twitter and on Instagram. Thank you so much for everyone who asked questions. And also to do a full look based on the cover of my book. Now, the gag is, it is Monday, the 20th of July, and I still don't have finished copies of my book. So I don't know what it physically looks like in person, but obviously I know what it looks like. So we're just going to have a go. I am not a makeup artist. Everything that I have learned about makeup is stuff that I have begged, borrowed and stolen from YouTube tutorials and slowly have developed the way that I do my face. So I'm still learning, so be kind and yeah. Let's get into it. This is going up on Friday the 24th of July. If you are sitting in the live chat right now, because we are premiering this at 6 p.m, never done that before, there might not be anyone there. But if there is, hello. But please know that after this video at 7 o'clock, I'll be going live on my Instagram at the George Lester. And you can nip over there and I'm going to be sitting there in a different drag look for about an hour, answering questions and just chatting with you guys. So if you want to come over and like see that, feel free if it's before time, and if it's not, I'm going to leave it like on my IGTV or something so that if you want to, you can go and watch it at a later date. But let's get into this, because I've now talked for like 3 minutes and there are a lot of questions. You asked a lot of things. I'm very, very grateful. I'm going to try and talk you through the makeup and answer the questions at the same time. So let's see how this all goes. So the first thing I need to do is glue down my eyebrows. I use Elmer's washable purple glue. Oh, hang on. Is she a beauty guru? No, she's not. Okay, well, I use this, which a lot of drag queens use, and I basically run it through my brows back and forth until it's all coated, and then I comb it and repeat. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to answer the first question, which is from Paul Marks on Instagram, which was, what part of the writing publishing process most surprised or shocked you? I'm going to be really honest. There wasn't a huge amount that shocked me because I used to work in publishing, and because I used to work in publishing, I sort of knew how, like roughly anyway, how it would work. I think maybe the only thing that shocked me more than anything else is how hard it was. It was very, very difficult. I mean, it's difficult writing a book, period, but editing is like a whole different experience. Like, you think you struggle to write the book and then you essentially have to like write it 3 more times, and you feel so close to it that you never know whether or not what you're doing is making it better or making it worse. Following on from that, Anna James asked, in what ways did your experience in publishing hinder you, and in what ways did it help you? I remember saying this, I've said this to many people, that I think I knew too much. Like, I worked in publishing for like 3.5 years, and I think because of that, I like knew too many things, and I don't know, sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like, I think you need to know some things when you're going into an industry and not know other things. Like, because I knew so many things, and even now I do it, there are things that like I will look at and I will overanalyze and wonder what it all means, and the chances are it means nothing, and I'm just like freaking out. But in another way, it sort of helped because there were times when I knew what to expect and I knew it was coming. So there were times, so like I knew the stages that I needed to get to. So in that way, that wasn't a surprise. I think in some ways knowing things helped me calm down and helped me not freak out so much. But then also the knowing things made it really hard to like switch off and to not panic about things. I look out of my mind. So I've never done this before. I'm gluing down my side, but like there's these bits at the side of my head because sometimes they show like under my wig, like at the lace of my wig they will show, and I don't want that. So I'm gluing those down as well. I've done a couple of layers of glue on my brows, and then the next thing to do is to pack powder into those places, and then just like pray, because like I am 80% proficient when it comes down to gluing down my eyebrows. Sometimes it happens first time, but there are times when it will just not work and I'll get most of the way through my face and my brows will be lifting and I'll have to like go back and do them again, which is irritating. So yes, gluing down brows is hard. It is an art form in itself. Say a little prayer. I do say this in the book, and I can't remember who says it. It might be K-Bye, but someone says at some point, you have to push through the moment where it doesn't look right, where it looks like everything has gone wrong. We're not at the point where everything has gone wrong yet at the moment. This is kind of going right because my brows are flat. This is working. We're okay for now. My desk is a mess, but you know, who cares about that? Okay, while we let these kind of like sit and like we wait for it to just kind of fix itself, we're going to start working on the bottom half of the face. This is something that, when did I learn this? I can't remember when I learned this. Actually, no, it was my MA advisor who said this to me. My MA advisor's husband is a drag queen. And my MA advisor said to me, to save time, start working on the bottom half of your face while the top half, while this is happening, which I also did put in the book as well. So we're priming. Next question is another one from Anna James. And she says, who are your top 3 queens from Drag Race US? And this question is impossible because there are so many that I really love. Like there's no queen that I dislike. Well, that's a lie. There are a few queens that I really dislike. So favorites from Drag Race US. I love Trixie, which is such a basic opinion, but I love her. I love Raja from season 3. I've forgotten every Drag Race girl's name. And I love Bob the drag queen as well. I think maybe they might be my 3 favourites. Trixie, Bob, Raja, I think. If we're talking season 12, Jade Essence Hall, the house down boots. She won that season pretty much in week 1 as far as I'm concerned. Yes, so that. Next up, we're doing a bit of colour correcting because I have a beard. I have like, well, it's not a bit, I've like shaved it. So I have like, there's like a general greyness in the area, and by putting some orange on it, we fixed that. So we're gonna do that. And the next question I've been asked is from Jack, whose Instagram handle is JTH Books. He has a gorgeous Instagram aesthetic. I absolutely live. So, you know, go and check out his Instagram. And Jack has asked, what are you proudest of about your fantastic book? First of all, thank you for saying my book is fantastic. There are days when I worry that it's not. I think one of the things that I am most proud of is having a book out in the first place, because that's kind of an achievement in itself, because having worked in publishing, there are so many books that come in on submission and so many books that just don't make it. And having one has always been a dream. So that's an absolute dream. In terms of the actual book, I think I'm proud of the way that I have portrayed drag, I think, because I was determined with the book to be very like, there is more to drag than Drag Race, which is something I learned on my MA, and I wanted to put that into the book. And I think that's come across because it's been mentioned in a couple of reviews and by a couple of tweets. And I'm proud of that fact. And also that people think it's funny. Like, I find myself quite funny, which is probably not a good thing, but I find myself really funny. But even I thought a lot of the jokes that I put in it were really stupid. And the fact that so many of them made it through and they're making other people laugh as well, it's a nice feeling, really. Just brushing off the excess powder. Be careful that you do not disturb the brows, because if you disturb the brows, you have to start over on the brows. And now I'm just going to clean up around the edges of them while I answer a question from Bria and her books on Instagram. Beautiful, beautiful name, by the way. Favorite character to write, I think is it an easy question? I don't know. I loved writing the queens at Dragcellence. That was really, really fun. Favorite single character to write was probably Priya. And I said this in a blog post, but she was probably my favorite character to write because she just had this energy about her. Like, it's really hard to describe, but like, she wasn't in the initial draft. So when we added her, because my editors decided Robin needed a friend at his dance school, or people there that he interacted with, and Priya was kind of born pretty instantly after that. And she was really exciting because the second she appeared in a room, she had this energy about her and she just like brought new life to like these scenes. So she was amazing fun to write. So the queens, but also Priya. And also the relationship between him and his mum. I could write those scenes all damn day. They were so much fun. The book pitch was Dumplin meets RuPaul's Drag Race by way of Gilmore Girls. So the Gilmore Girls aspect of it was his relationship with his mum. And I was determined for that to be kind of like that quick, fiery dialogue. And I had so much fun writing that. It was just an absolute blast. Next, I use for my foundation, I use Kryolan TV paint sticks. These are quite expensive for what they are, but they are a very thick foundation that cover up all of this man, so that's why I use them. And I layer it on quite thick. There's a lot of man to cover. I say that like I'm like super hyper masculine, and I'm really not. Some people wear like a wig cap when they're doing this, but I find that just makes me really hot. So usually I'll style my hair, and then it means that when I put pins in my wig, they stay there. It was like, I don't know where I got that tip from, but that was a good one. So my next question is from Emma Claire Quick, which is, how close to your own experience of drag is Robin's experience? So my experience is sort of similar. I did a master's degree in musical theatre, and we had to do a 45-minute solo show on that master's degree. And what I did was I did a 45-minute drag show. I knew really early on I wanted to do drag, having watched a lot of Drag Race, and I was a huge fan of it. And I did that, and I went to see some like local shows, and that's what really inspired me, and what really inspired the show was these local queens. Cheryl Hole, who I saw before she was on Drag Race, her, a drag queen called Me, who used to be called Meth, is now called Me, Glue, Tace, Baby Row, like all of these incredible queens, Lolo Brow. And it was through watching them that I was really, really inspired to pursue drag beyond that. And my experience echoes Robin's very much in the fact that, like, I, again, very careful with the foundation on the brows. My experience was very much the same as Robin's, in that I was sat crying at a drag show watching a performance, and it was in that moment that I was like, I have to do this. I'd just done my 45-minute solo show. I'd finished writing my essay that had to accompany it. I went to watch a drag show as like a treat to myself, and I was sat there next to my friend Hannah Teresa, and I was sat there crying, and it was like, I want to do this so badly. So that was how all of this, not how it started, because it started with my 45-minute solo show, but sort of how it continued was like taking it beyond that and doing more with it. And I'm like, got a drag Instagram, which I'll link in the description box below for anyone who's interested. And I'm competing, or I was competing before we went into lockdown, in a show in Soho at Freedom Bar called The Crown. So she's fully into it. The dream is to use my musical theatre degree and also my drag life. So at some point to do everybody talking about Jamie or Torch Song or Kinky Boots, or have a whole new show written about drag that I could be in. So fingers crossed that happens one day. Anyway, foundation on the face, beauty blender, bounce, bounce, bounce. And once again, be careful around those brows. Okay, so this is the first moment you're going to come to where it's very much like, trust the process. I make a lot of drag, well, not a lot. I make TikToks of me in drag, and someone commented on one of them saying CEO of Trust the Process. And that's because in the middle of a look, or even at the start of a look, you look so strange that you just have to like power through. So we're powering through. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in with a white. I use 070, and we're going to do all of the highlights of the face. And my next question is from Ryan Lynch, which is, if your main character competed in Drag Race, which challenges would they excel or fail in? And I love this question for a lot of reasons, because there are two ways this could go. So if Robin competed in Drag Race, I feel like it would be very similar to me, because I feel like he's very similar to me. And he'd be very like, I am a Broadway queen. So in theory, he would excel at the musical challenge, at the Rusical challenge is where he would excel. But Drag Race being Drag Race, any queen who's like, I'm this and I'm going to excel at this, and then you get them in an interview saying, this is my week, and then they're in the bottom two and possibly even go home. So I feel like he'd excel in a musical challenge. He'd excel in a dance challenge if a dance challenge came up. Comedy and acting, he'd probably be all right. I think it'd be a design challenge that would let him down, because at the moment in the book, that's not something he has done. He's not designed a costume before. So I think that is where he would fall down. And I also don't know how good he'd be at reading, although he does all right at it in the book, so maybe he'd be okay. But I worry, the thing is about Robin, he struggles with his confidence a lot. So it's whether or not he gets in his own way, which would be great for Drag Race story, because that's just how Drag Race works. Like, they always have that one queen on every season who's like really great, but gets in their own way, and that's why they don't do well. So maybe Robin would be that queen. He'd be like a Ms. Cracker or a Jackie Cox or something. Next thing we're going to do is contour. I have 3 Kryolan TV pen sticks. One, my shade, my highlight, my contour. So we're gonna do that next. Ah, motherfucker. So this next question is from Kieran, which is, did any local queens in your town inspire you and your characters? So Entity itself and Dragcellence the show were deeply inspired by a show that happens at the apple tree in Clerkenwell called Apples and Pears, which is presented by a drag queen called me, which I have been to a lot of times. It's wonderful show with some incredible queens who perform at it quite often. Apart from that, I think Carried Away is like inspired by the drag queen me for sure. And oh, I've just noticed that I'm a little bit uneven. Carried Away is inspired by the drag queen me for certain. I think that was kind of an unintentional thing that I did, but also sort of makes sense because the way that me hosts the show is very like, it's very that. So there was that. Apart from that, no. Although my moment where I like discovered that I wanted to do drag was with Cheryl Hole. So I suppose in a way K-Bi is kind of Cheryl Hole inspired in that way. And Kieran's other question was, while writing a queer character, did you draw any inspiration from your teenage years? Yes and no. My teenage years were kind of rough in places, as I'm sure a lot of queer kids' teenage years are. So I think some of his rougher spots, yes. His lack of confidence, absolutely. I draw from my everyday life because I don't have buckets of confidence, which is probably surprising considering that I'm on the internet doing this right now. But I don't have buckets of confidence. And I did find myself in the book. Things that I was having other people say to Robin were things that I needed to listen to myself. So like believing in yourself and treating yourself like a star and wait for the rest of the world to catch up. Which is actually a RuPaulism. I kind of took inspiration from my life. There were parts of my life that I just point blank gave Robin. Like there's a moment where they talk about Robin, how he played Lady Macbeth in year 9, and I actually did that. But I think there are parts that I just took totally. At the beginning of the book, he is a very confident boy, and like I would love to be that confident, but I just didn't. So I think I could certainly take a leaf out of Robin's book. But that's one thing I love about Priya, actually, the character of Priya. Is that she is very confident in herself, and rightly so. Like she knows her worth, and like I love her for that. And I think we could all stand to be a little bit more Priya, I think, because she's fabulous. Oh no, I'm going to do my nose contour now. And my next question is from Shana. Happy birthday, Shana. I knew I'd remember. So, is there a queen you would really like to meet, and why? She did say I could include queens that I have actually met. I have not met a single drag queen from the US version of Drag Race. I've not met any of them. I've not even seen any of them at a show, which is probably terrible, but I've just never been. So I've never met a queen from US Drag Race. So I would love to meet Trixie because I'm what? Basic. And I would love to meet Katya. I'd love to meet any of them really, because like, I'm sure they're all really lovely. I'd love to meet Alaska. I'd love to meet Willem. I know that Willem is very controversial, but if you listen to Race Chaser, which is a podcast that Alaska and Willem do, I love Willem an awful lot. I would love to properly meet Cheryl Hole. We've been in the same room before. Like I've seen her perform live, which was amazing. Let me just say one thing about Drag Race UK. Every time Cheryl Hole was in like the bottom 3, there were times when she shouldn't have been there, but every time Cheryl Hole was in the bottom 3, I was sat at home watching it thinking, put her in the bottom 2. I dare you. She will lip sync rings around whoever she is up against. But anyway, she's an incredible lip sync artist and I adore her. We've been in the same room because she judged one of the rounds of The Crown, one of the heats of The Crown that I wasn't in. And so I've been in the same room as her in that sense, and also watching her perform. There's a drag queen I love called Her, Herr, who I think is absolutely phenomenal. There's also a drag queen I really love called Ophelia Love, and Kitty Scott Claus, who are incredible drag queens, and I've had the pleasure, they are the hosts of The Crown, so I've had the pleasure of meeting them, which was absolutely blooming delightful. I've forgotten when I started doing this nose contour, but I do love it. Like, it's just really fun and just really like and I really enjoy it. So now that I've basically done the whole face, now is the time to set the face. So this is it. This is the highlights. This is the contours. Now we're going to cover it in powder and pray. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is the eyes. I am very scared because it could ruin everything. So we're gonna proceed with great caution. First thing I'm gonna do, based on what the cover looks like, it doesn't show where the eyeliner goes exactly. So I'm gonna kind of do my own thing. Something I'm a big fan of when I'm doing my makeup is big eyeliner. I love big eyeliner. So, and I think that's partly because precision is hard. So like it's a bigger space, but also it makes a more dramatic look. So based on this, I'm going to sort of go to about here, I think. So I'm just going to mark it out. I'm so not used to having people watch me do makeup that so much could go wrong. And I like having a white space underneath in a very sort of tricksy-ish way. So I'm going to leave myself enough room that I can do just that. Oosh. I like that. That's about even. And then I'm just going to colour it in. This is a liquid gel eyeliner I got from Maybelline. I started using a gel eyeliner. When did I start using a gel eyeliner? I think I've been using it like pretty much from the beginning, because Trixie Mattel uses a black gel eyeliner from NYX, and I've not tried the NYX one because at the time there wasn't like a place to get NYX in my nearest town. So I did not have NYX. So I tried a couple of gel eyeliners actually, and this has been the best one that I've found. It's very creamy and it's very dark. Next question we're going to answer is one from the lovely Grace Latter, whom I adore. And she has asked 3 questions. One is, who was the best queen in Drag Race UK? I'm biased towards Cheryl Hole because I've seen her perform. I love her so very much. And like, because she's, oh, this is so embarrassing, but like she's kind of like a huge part of why I'm doing drag these days. So that's kind of why I loved her anyway. But the one who was the best at drag on the show, I mean, we can't deny that the Vivienne was absolutely stunning and she pretty much ran away with the thing. So yeah, probably the Vivienne. But I did love Davina De Campo as well. It was a really great season. It was a fantastic show. I really enjoyed it. Next thing I need to do is brows. I was about to say, I'm not a huge brow queen, but actually the last few looks that I've done have included brows. So we're going to do brows, and the brows on this are black. So I guess we're doing black brows. Okay. This is the moment, you guys. This is the moment where it looks like it's all gone wrong. But we're just going to push through it. I've done this so many times in the past that I know it can only get better. Also, we're going to clean up these brows with some white and then we'll put some colour on that. It's going to be okay, I promise. I hope so anyway, Jesus. The other thing that exists are these little dots over the top of the brows. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each side. So I'm just going to take a little brush that's like sort of rounded and I'm going to dot those on now. Ooh! Okay, let's answer another question. Grace had another question, which was, where is the weirdest place you've found yourself writing? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm not actually sure where the weirdest place I've found myself writing is. It's really weird seeing myself on the screen like this, by the way. Weirdest place I've found myself writing. I sort of write whenever and wherever I can. Like when I worked in publishing or when I was like doing an acting job or something, I would do it in like stolen moments. So it'd be like in a notes app between like different things, or while I'm walking along, or like I'll go for a walk and I'll just like be writing stuff on my phone. Weirdest place that I found myself writing. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Possibly just like sitting in the car. Like, I don't think that's a weird place necessarily, but I think just like sitting in the car waiting for Jordan, I'll be like tippy tapping on my phone or writing something in my diary or something like that. There's this thing called exquisite pressure that we learnt about at Mount View. You're more productive in like a 10-minute time frame than you would be for like a whole day, because it's exquisite pressure. It's like a tiny amount of time to get as much done as possible. So like I'll get a lot done in like that amount of time, like more than I would in a day. So like that's why I try and do it in as many stolen moments as possible. I always find that I'm more productive in like a short space than in a long space, which probably says more about my personality than anything else. And Grace's last question is, what is your best makeup tip? My best makeup tip is definitely the trust the process one. Like, so you just have to go with it and you just have to sort of like believe that this isn't going to turn into something that looks this strange, that it will improve as you go along. So it's more that very trust the process, I think, is the one. So I said we were going to clean this up with a white. The white that I'm using is from Give Face Cosmetics. It's their like white putty. It's very, very good. It's very, very white, which is what we need right now to like kind of carve out under the brow. And also this acts as a really good eyeshadow primer. So I'm just going to do that. Oh, already that looks better. Yay. Okay, see? Trust the process, mama. Trust the process. Next up, let's have a question from Charlie. Charlie asked, if you could give any fictional character a drag makeover, who would it be and what would their drag persona be like? I've not thought about this question and I really wish I had. So I'm currently reading Heartbreak Boys by Simon James Green. And I'm halfway through and there are these two characters, it's two perspectives, and there's Jack and Nate. And Jack is a very, very confident boy and very, very like out there, which I love. It's one of the reasons that I'm like head over heels for him and was head over heels for him so early on in the story. So I adored him straight off the bat. Nate is a lot more reserved and shy. And so because of that, I think putting him in drag would be very, very interesting indeed. There's something that RuPaul says, and I have problems with RuPaul, as I know many people do, but something that RuPaul does say is that getting in drag sort of reveals more about yourself, and it's sort of like, I don't know, it sort of like brings out something in you, which I completely agree with. Like when I'm in drag, I'm even more unbearable than I am now. I'm way more confident, and I think I am absolutely 100% it. So I would be interested to put Nate in drag because I think it would make him more confident, and I think it would reveal a side to himself that was less reserved, that was less nervous, that was just way more comfortable in himself. So yes, Nate from Heartbreak Boys I think would be a really good one. Next thing to do is the eyes, and because I have done the bottom of my face as well as the top half of my face, I am going to put a bit of powder under my eyes so that if there's any fallout from the red I can just brush it away. And there's a spoiler, I am doing red. If you look at the cover, there is red, so we're doing red. I rarely do a red eye, and don't worry that I'm getting powder on the black. That can be fixed later. Very much like when I'm doing drag, I feel like it's very much like laying down layers. It's like you sort of lay down layers of paint and colour and tone, and then like allow yourself to make mistakes because then later on you get to fix them. Wow, now is not the time to be running out of powder. This is another trust the process moment, I think, because right now I look like a tiger or something, like I look like a cat. Meow. Didn't need to make a cat noise. You know what noise a cat makes. So we're going to go in with red. If you look at the cover, there's sort of like a red kind of coming up under the brow line. So I'm going to sort of go over here and I'm going to finish it here. So there's a little bit of highlight under the brow on the far side. So I'm using the Morphe 35B palette, which is a mess. This was bought for me by my friend Katie for my birthday last year, and I've used it for practically every drag look since. So we are going in with the shade Chicory, which is like a deep red. So just grab something nice and floofy. So I'm going to go from here, and I'm just, because I don't want to disturb the brow, so I'm just going to sort of like pat it in, like just sort of press it in. I can diffuse later, but for now, just going to press in this red, and then I'll take a little bit of red down the nose, so like so when we contour later on we'll have like a red moving into a brown, which I really like. Like whatever color I'm painting with, I always go down the nose with that color as well and try and blend it into the brown that's down there. So I've gone and I've done all the red. I put a little black line where the edge of the red was, and now I'm just filling in that little gap with white, and I'll probably do the white under my eye now as well, just while I'm here. And that will just join with this front white here, and I think that sort of brings the whole eye together as far as I'm concerned. Do you see what I mean? It's sort of, I think it brings the whole eye together because it sort of connects up. Sorry I'm not talking during this bit, it's very delicate and I don't want to like poke my eyeball out. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what we've done since I last had the camera on. I have done the white all the way around. I have put a little black line there to define it a little bit more, and I've set the brows and the eyeliner with a black eyeshadow, which is exactly the reason we put this powder here, because some of it has dripped onto my face. So next thing we need to do is contour, and we're going to answer another question while we do some contouring. So Martha has asked 3 questions. Were the first time in drag makeup experiences, failures and lessons in Boy Queen anything like your own? Yes and no. I am a strong believer that you have to look a little bit busted before you can look really, really dusted. So I think in that sense, yes, because it will never go right every single time you do your makeup. Like, there's just no way. And like, Robin is brand new to it, so he has to go through that learning curve where you're just trying your best and things aren't working and you're trying to figure out what works for your face, which I think everyone kind of goes through when it comes to doing your makeup for the first time. It's a brand new experience. You're figuring out dimensions, especially when it's drag, because when it's drag, not only are you figuring out the dimensions of your face, you're also like gluing down your brows. You're like creating like a brand new dimension on your face. So yeah, I think in that sense, figuring things out and getting it very wrong definitely is something that I did. Like, and I said this in a couple of blog posts that I've written as part of a blog tour that is happening for Boy Queen. That is, when you first get your makeup really, really right, you feel so great and you feel like the one. Like, no one can touch you. You are so beautiful and you love it. And then you'll look back at that picture in like 6 months' time. Oh my God, the sun went away. You'll look back at that picture in like 6 months' time and realize you were not the one. But now you're the one. But then you'll look back on it in a few months' time again and realize that you still want the one, and you can always change and grow. And I think that's very important to keep in mind whenever you're doing anything new, even when you're doing makeup, is that you're always figuring things out, and I think you should always try new things to figure out new ways to do your face. For example, I've never done this face before. I'm figuring it out on camera, and you don't figure it out on camera. You can figure it out in the quietness of your own bedroom, but you figure it out as you go along. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have some pictures of me looking incredibly busted, looks that I did not put anywhere because things just didn't work out in the way I wanted them to. Whereas sometimes they really do work out. So I don't think I've answered your question. Basically, makeup is hard, cut yourself some slack, celebrate the quick wins, and do your best. Now, where is my contour palette? So for some reason, I've lost my NYX contour palette and the sun has gone away, so the lighting is weird. So we're using a Barry M Chisel Cheeks contour kit, which is a really good contour palette, actually. Like, I have been using it for a very long time and it has always served me well. The only reason I wanted to try the next one is because I wanted to try something new. I'm gonna get a straight edge because I am a cheater, and with the darker of the two shades, I'm gonna go right in this pocket up here. You see there? And pull down, always with the darker shade up here, because then you can use the lighter shade and then repeat on the other side. This is your reminder that we are at another trust the process moment. This contour looks very, very dark, and it is very, very dark. I like a dark contour and a sharp cheek. However, once you've got everything else on the face, it looks less pronounced. It only looks like really like pronounced on the face because it is the most recent thing on the face. So don't worry if you were worried about me. Don't be. I am a-okay. Also, how good has me like gluing down the sides of my face gone? Like, that's gone shockingly well. Like, I've never done it before, and I don't know why I thought, oh, do you know what? When you're filming a Q&A for YouTube to talk about your book, why not try this brand new thing you've never done before? I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but it must have been because it really worked. So, you know, good for me. Now we're going to do that nose contour that I was talking about. So I'm going to take the lighter of the two shades and I'm going to not put too much product on the thing. And then I'm going to come down I'm going to like start where the red is. And I'm going to come down my nose so it sort of blends in. And while we're doing that, let's answer another question. One of Martha's other questions was, when did you first plan to write Boy Queen? This is an interesting question for many reasons, because I didn't really plan to write it. Like, I had wanted to write a drag book before. I'd wanted a drag YA novel. And this was years ago, like before Black Flamingo, before Reverie. Like, I wanted a drag YA novel, and I didn't think I was the one to write it because I knew a lot about Drag Race, but I was aware that I didn't know loads about drag. So because of that, I didn't want to be the one to write it. This was years ago. And then Rachel Petty, who is now my editor, which I'm incredibly grateful for because she is incredible. She got in touch with me after I finished my master's degree. She knew that I was doing drag and that I'd done drag on my MA and that I was still doing it. And she got in touch and said, I've had a dream about a YA novel about a teenage boy who wants to be a drag queen. I think you should write it. And I wrote a sample, and I was incredibly lucky that it then got picked up by Pan Macmillan to be published. It was an incredible experience. It happened so whirlwindy fast that like my feet didn't really touch the ground and suddenly there was a book in the world, because I wrote a 20,000 word sample and that's what it got bought on. So it got bought on a 20,000 word sample and a synopsis. So I then had to like write the book in 5 seconds flat, because this happened last August. So like a year ago almost. So that happened and I was like really made up about it, and then I had to write the book in like 5 seconds flat and get it submitted to Rachel before I went on my holiday in November. It was a whirlwind. I was in a show at the time as well. I was doing Gentlemen Prefer Blondes at the Union Theatre, so I was in a show at the time as well, so it was a whole lot of things all at once. But here we are, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And it's interesting because it wasn't the first book that I had ever written. It was like book number 4 that I'd written with my literary agent, and like I never thought that it would be my debut, because I thought one of the other books that I had written would be my debut when it went on submission. So yeah, it was kind of amazing. So I never really planned to write it. I was asked to, in a way, and I just so happened to do it well enough that they wanted me to finish writing it, if that makes sense. So I've just added a little bit of blush. I don't use a blusher. I use a pink. I use the pink in the Morphe palette, which is why it's very, very, very bang. So now we're going to do lips. I bought a red lipstick because I knew I was doing this, and I didn't own a red lipstick, which is like, surely red lipstick is drag 101. So I'm going to get my red lipstick. And now you're going to realise just how bad I am at drawing on my lips. I have some incredible lip liners that I got from Give Face Cosmetics. They're just like liner pencils that you can use for eyes or you can use them for lips. And I'm using this, it doesn't have a name, but it's a very, very dark red. Can you see it? Very dark red, so we're going to use that. And I'm just going to say this now, I didn't leave the camera on while I was doing my lips because it's hard. These are probably the best lip pencils I've ever used in my life. I've used a lot. I've used NYX ones, which are actually quite good. I've used NYX ones, I've used Revolution ones, I've used MUA ones, and these are probably the best ones I've ever used. They just go on really, really easily. So now there's a line, I'm going to fill it in with the red. And it's a drag queen thing, is like a darker line around the outside compared to the lip colour that you're wearing. And the science behind that is that it draws more attention to your lips if you're lip syncing. So yes, this is Ruby for Me, which is a Maybelline New York lipstick. That was a good one. I love how while I've been doing this video, I've like sunk further and further into the chair. So now I've got the red on, and that's a very deep red. I wasn't expecting this deep of a red. We've got more stuff to add to it, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of white highlight and put that across the middle of the lip. Again, that creates like an ombre effect and like a darkened thing on the outside. And what I've been using for that most recently is the Revolution Conceal and Define Infinite in the colour 0, which is just white. See what I mean? So it creates like, it darkens the bit around the outside and slightly lightens the thing in the middle. Normally I do more, but I don't have glitter on my cover. I know for a fact at this point that there is no glitter on the cover. However, I have red glitter, so we're putting glitter on my face instead. So this is Glam Crystal's Glitter Glue from Collection, which, hang on, let me just get the glitter out first. So the glitter is from Give Face Cosmetics. So it's a little red pot of glitter here, and I'm gonna put the glue on my lips and then the glitter on that. Then highlighter, and then I think I need to put some lashes on and then I'm done. And now is so not the time to answer a question. So then I'm gonna dip into the glitter. See? Glitter. Now on to some finishing touches, which is lashes, highlight, and then we're done. I need to put some clothes on. I have one last question while I highlight, which is from Leah, which is Robin inspired by any queens in particular? Oh, and this is the Morphe 8S Stellar Impact, which came in the post the other day. Not gifted, I bought it. But Robin isn't inspired by any queens in particular, no. I think it was more, I just wanted him to feel very much like an ingenue, very much like someone who is new to it and still figuring it out. And I hope that comes across in the book. Like, I didn't base him on anyone in particular, much like I didn't base many of the queens at Dragcellence on anyone in particular. They were just combinations of several different queens in my head, really. So yes, the answer to that is no. This highlight is lovely. This is the shade Aurora. Oh my god, that is fully pink on the tip of my nose. I ain't even mad. It's really, really poppy. I love it. Then Leah also asked, who do you think Robin would have drama with? out of the RuPaul's Drag Race queens? I don't know. Robin's not really one for drama. Well, his life is, actually that's a complete lie. His life is so dramatic. I think he would try and steer clear of the drama if he could, I think. But once you're in a high pressure situation like Drag Race, who knows what's going to happen? He could end up being the villain of the season. Who knows? Obviously, my absolute hope would be that he would just be incredibly lovely to everyone and win. I've just put some glitter on my inner corner because why not? Now let's do some lashes. The lashes that I use are from What a Drag UK. They are wonderful lashes. I adore them. So I'm using some Duo Lash Glue and we're going to use their Femme Tops. And I think that's it. I'm done with questions. So I think, unless I've missed any, and I'm really sorry if I've missed any. Oh, do you have a, so I've got one more question, which is, do you have a fan cast for any of your characters? And the answer to that, I remember I answered Rachel on Twitter saying, oh my God, so many, but it turns out actually not that many. Like I tried not to think about it too much. I think if it ever got made, I said this in a Twitter chat quite recently, if it ever got made and I was fortunate enough to have any creative input whatsoever, I would like to be in it, I think. More than anything else, I would love to be in it myself, which is probably quite vain. So that, I would love to be in it. But also, I think more than anything else, I would want Robin to be played by a young gay actor. If I can't play Robin, which I'm probably too old to play Robin at this point. If I can't play Robin, I would want him to be played by a young gay actor because I think that's important. Representation is important. And I think there are a few things that irritate me more than straight people taking queer roles when there are incredible queer actors available for such things. But that's a story for another day. And my other thing would be that if I then couldn't be K-bi, I would love to, I mean, if I can't be Robin, I want to be K-bi. If that is not allowed, or that is not a thing that can happen, I think more than anything else, I would want the drag queens to be played by drag queens. Again, it's a thing that is just like so, that's important to me. It's important to me that they are played by drag queens because they'll understand it, they'll get it, they'll be a part of the scene, they'll be a part of the world, they'll understand what's going on, and they'll like, I don't know. It seems to me the right thing to do in a situation where where it would be in theory, it would be a TV show or a film that is about drag queens and about a kid who wants to do drag. And surely the logical thing to do is to cast drag queens in it. So if I can't be one of those queens, I hope that I would want the rest of them to be those queens, if that makes sense. I would want drag queens to be cast in the drag queen roles. So everyone from K-bi to Carried Away, Pristine Gleaming, or drag queens and drag kings, obviously, because you have Cold Shower and things like that. So those would be the things that I would want. So it's not so much a fan cast as more like a desire, if I am lucky enough in my life to have it adapted. Yeah. So if it was ever to be adapted, queer people in the queer roles, paid drag queens for work, that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Oh, these are power bottoms as well, by the way. Sorry that the names for these lashes are so saucy. But yeah, that is the last of my questions. So thank you so much if you asked questions for this and I answered them. If I did miss your question, I'm really, really sorry. But if you are watching this as it premieres, if you come over to Instagram, I'll be doing an Instagram live where I'll be talking about more things about the book and answering more questions if there are more questions for me to answer. Otherwise, it'll just be a little kiki. So if you want, you can come over to Instagram and you can watch that now. But first, this is the finished look. I'm just going to put some white in these dots to give them like some dimension. You see, it makes a slight difference. And I'm going to go put a wig on. And this is the full look. Full boy queen, that girl fantasy. Please ignore the fact that I got sunburned quite recently. Yeah, so I actually made this garment out of some of my proofs. So many books were harmed in the making of this outfit. And I have a little hat as well. But thank you so much for watching this video if you made it this far. Thank you so much for submitting a question if you did. If you are watching this at the premiere, feel free to head over to my Instagram at 7 o'clock where I'll be answering more of your questions and just generally hanging out. So if that sounds like your thing, feel free to come and do that. But if you are watching this after the fact. Feel free to leave more questions in the comments below, and maybe I'll do another Q&A at some point. But yes, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support on Boy Queen so far. I'm so excited that in like 2 weeks I finally get to share this book with you, so I'm so excited. Thank you so much for all of the love, for all of the wonderfulness, for all of the questions, and for your attention for the last 45 minutes or so. I love each and every one of your faces, and I'll speak to you as soon as I possibly can. Bye! Ooh, I am kind of obsessed with this, I'm not gonna lie. The hat is really doing it for me. Eee! Little doodle bopper hat.